Hi everyone, so today's video is going to be a product review of a Christmas palette, and it is the Tarte Magic Star palette. So let me grab the box that it comes in real quick. And it comes in this box right here. You can get this at Ulta only, I believe. I believe Sephora has their own and Ulta has their own palette from Tarte. And it is $49, but it says it's a retail value of $411. So I don't really know how they came up with that, but that's what it says. The box is very similar to the outer packaging of the actual palette. I did notice, though, nowhere on this palette, sorry y'all, I'm still sick, does it actually say the name of this palette. It just says Tarte, and that's it. So on the box at the very top, it says it's the Magic Star Collector Set. But nowhere else does it say that. So if you want to know which palette's called, you're going to have to keep this box. This also has a list of ingredients and things like that. And the sizes, but the sizes of each item are also on the back of the palette. So I bought this because of the packaging, first and foremost. I've also never tried a holiday collection from Tarte, so I was intrigued by that. I think this is really cool. So if you haven't seen it yet, it is kind of thick. I would say it's probably about 8 centimeters or like 2.5 inches thick. To compare it to some other things, this is the old packaging of the Too Faced 9-pan palette, so it's definitely thicker than that. I have a Lorac Pro palette right here, much thicker than that. So it is pretty thick. It is like a nice kind of a holographic gold, and then it's got like these, to me they're kind of Moroccan style like designs. I like it. It doesn't scream Christmas to me. It just says like, here's a pretty palette, but that's fine. And then it's really cool. So this is actually magnet. This is, I don't know if it's actual metal or plastic. I can't tell. It might be real metal. And it does say Tarte right there. And then look. Look at this. This is pretty neato spinito. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. It folds out into a diamond. I think that's so cool. I used this when I was gone, so I was gone for 2.5 weeks, and I brought this palette with me. So I've definitely got a lot of use out of it, but every time I open it, someone would be like, hey, what's that? I know that Urban Decay this year tried to do something like different with their heavy metal palette, and they put the mirror, sorry y'all, I am still sick, right in the middle. I thought that was like unique, but kind of dumb, because it was kind of a waste of space. This is not a waste of space. So every single inch of this palette has a product in it. And then you just fold it back up. I did, like I said, I traveled with this. I flew from Savannah to Chicago to Vancouver. I stayed in Vancouver for about, wow, like a week and a half. And then we drove from Vancouver to Washington. We stayed like right outside of Portland. Then we stayed in San Francisco one night. We stayed in LA 2 nights. Then we drove and we stayed in like Phoenix, somewhere in Texas, Odessa, Texas, right outside of Shreveport. And then we stayed in Atlanta. And then, so we made, this palette has been around. That's the whole goal of what I'm trying to say. And nothing has shattered, nothing has broken. Sorry, broke is not a word. It is pretty thick, but I don't feel like it's so thick that I couldn't use it. And this is a very inclusive palette. So let's get into the products. I think I'm going to start on the outside, and then we're going to go to the eyeshadows last. Is that okay? That's what we're going to do. So we'll start at the very top right here, and we have the highlighter. This is the highlighter that I have on my face today. It is a very gold highlight. It's shimmery without being like overly glittery, I feel like. I do really like the way it looks. It's not the most natural highlight, so if you're like me and you like a really natural looking highlight that still gives some shimmer, this does look a little bit strippy on the face, but it is really pretty, and I like it. And in that little triangle, so each triangle has a cheek product and like a little extra product, and each of the cheek products, I just threw it on the ground. I don't know why I did that. I believe each of the cheek products is 2.3 grams of product, which is pretty good. Yeah. And then we got this little Sex Kitten liner. This is a new liner from Too Faced. You don't get a ton of product in here. That's how much you get, but that's okay. It is the liner I have on today. I did go ahead and set it with some black eyeshadow because I usually do that. It's decently black. It doesn't work the best in the waterline, but it's nice. I like it okay. Not my favorite, but it's decent. And it's cool to add in an eyeliner because I do wear eyeliner almost every day. So now we're going to go to, and it just like sits right in there perfectly. You can see that even if I were to like flip this palette over, none of those 4 items that are like extra fall out. So next we're going to go to this shade, and this is the blush I have on today. It's a very peachy blush. It's very warm tone. Again, it is what I have on today. It is extremely pigmented. It is a matte blush. I chose that so you could really see how the highlighter worked today. And just so duper, super duper pigmented. Really like it. And over there you have the Tarte Glossy Lip Paint. Now, I have not tried a glossy lip paint besides this one. It is the color I have on today. It's kind of a peachy pink. It's definitely a warm tone. I will say, a word to the wise, I don't know why they would do this, but the brush itself is blue. So when I first pulled it out, I was like, y'all, this is moldy, this is gross. But it's not. This isn't the shade Myth. That's just the way the brush is. I don't know who decided that. That was a terrible decision. It is just like a flat paddle brush. It's a little bit thick, but it's not uncomfortable. I think it looks nice. It's not overly glossy, but it does give a nice amount. Don't really feel it on my lips. It's not sticky, so this is a good product. We're going to go to the bottom one now, and that's the bronzer. And, oh, I didn't mention this, because I don't really understand why they would do this. They named all of the eyeshadows, but they don't have names for the cheek product, and I don't see them anywhere on the palette or on the box either. So just note that. So here's the bronzer. It is kind of a warm tone bronzer. I do have it on today. I have it on my forehead, and I feel like it looks really red there and a little bit patchy, so it's not the best bronzer. But it is really pigmented and nice, so that's good. And then for that side, we have the Tarte Tartest Lash Paint Mascara. I've really wanted to try this. I think this packaging is super cool, so I wanted to try it. Now, I have heard people say this, but I didn't really appreciate it until I got my own tube. So it feels like you're breaking the tube, because the whole stopper is actually in the lid and not in the tube. So with most mascaras, let me give you a little comparison. This is the Maybelline Lash Sensational, but any of them, there's the stopper. So you can actually feel yourself like, you know, kind of taking off the excess product, if you will. The stopper that actually keeps it closed is here, and then there is a little one here. Like, I can feel some resistance. But it does leave a lot of product up at that tip, which can kind of be a pain when you're trying to put it on your actual eyelashes. This is kind of a normal rubber bristle wand, nothing super exciting. I have it on today. It gives a decent amount of length, no volume, nothing great, but I did really want to try it, so I thought it was cool that they added it into this. And now the last cheek product we have is another blush. And this is a shimmery blush. It's very orange. It's not quite as pigmented as the matte one, but it's pretty much the same tone. Sorry, y'all. Just a shimmer instead of a matte. But I do like it. I think it's a really nice amount of shimmer to where it gives you some glow, but it doesn't look like you have highlighter all over your cheeks. Because sometimes shimmery blushes do that, and I don't like that. So there it is. I don't have that on today because, again, I wanted you to really be able to appreciate what that highlighter does. And now we have, the last product is the Tarte Lip Paint. This is the normal matte lip paint. This is in the shade Castle. This has like this little, what they call it, like a chair doe foot applicator. So the product just kind of sits right in there. It's kind of a brownie cool tone shade. It is really nice, very natural on the lips. They're kind of drying. My favorite of the liquid lipstick is the ColourPop Ultra Satins. I really like the Ofra ones. I feel like they don't dry down completely, but they're really comfortable. This is a little more drying, and I did notice it kind of showed the lines on my lips, but it's not terrible. I like it. So, that is all. Excuse me. That's all the outside, so now we're going to go on the inside, and I'm just going to go row by row. So there are 25 shadows in here. Each eyeshadow is 0.82 grams. Now a normal max shadow is 1.5 grams. So this is a little bit more than half of a normal eyeshadow size. So first, we have the shade Magical, which is kind of a matte, yellowy, peachy shade. It's right there. I'm a big fan of live swatches. I know it takes more time, but I think you can really appreciate the product, so I'm going to do that. Then we have Euphoria, which is a warm transition shade. Right there. It is kind of similar to that bronzer, but it's not as pigmented. Then we have Festival, which is a more neutral brown. Right there. Then we have Joyous, which is a shimmery kind of bronze. Looks really pretty on. There you go. And then we're going to do the last one for this is Genie. And it's just kind of a brown, like a, you know, a matte brown, kind of deep. I will go ahead and say, this is the first row. These shadows in general swatch really horribly. Also, kind of like I said with the overall packaging, I don't really get a Christmas vibe from this, which kind of makes me sad. I'm all for as Christmas as you can make it. That's just what I like. So, again, this is the first row. We're going to keep going. So the second row, the first shade is Paradise. This is kind of a matte orangey shade. It's very similar to my skin tone. Then I used that today as a transition and it didn't really show up that well. Then we have the shade Starry, a very warm tone brown, almost an orange. Then we have the shade Majestic, which is another metallic shade. And it's kind of a copper. Right there. It packs a nice punch. And then we have Gems, which is really a metallic orange. Right there. So now I'm going to try, I think I'm going to swatch them going down my arm. If I can not do such an awkward wrist thing. Sorry. Alright, and now the last one on this is Fringe, which is another warm brown. It's right there. That's a horrible swatch. Let's see if we can get it to swatch a little better. Right there. Very warm tone, kind of mud brown, also matte. Now we're going to go into the third row, and this is kind of, it's not really the metallic finish. It's this first shade right here. You can also see, so, sorry, I probably should have said this before. You have like your neutral row, your orange row, your purple, your green, your blue. That's kind of how it's, you know, designated. This pink in the shade Sweets, it's kind of a more chunkier shade. It's almost like a topper shade. I do have, well, no, I don't have this one on today. Then we have the shade Treasured, which is a nice kind of a pinky brown shade. Swatch is horrible, which is kind of a general theme you'll see. Then we have the shade Bangle, which is a nice like gray toned purple. It's a really unique shade. That one swatched really nice actually. Got some brown. It's a very unique shade. I like that one. Then we have Indulgence, which is by far my favorite shade in this entire palette. It's like a purpley pink with some gold duochrome. That packs a beautiful punch on the lid. I really like that one. And then we have the shade Goblet, which is a deep purple. This one does tend to show black, actually, on the lid. And it does have some shimmer. You see it kind of is like a darkened purple. I'm going to try to go to this hand now for the green shade. We have Wonder, which is, I guess it's supposed to be like a shimmery white. I have that in my inner corner today. It doesn't do that much, which is unfortunate, because if you know me, I like a really brightened inner corner. Next, we have the shade Palatial, which I do have kind of like on the first third of my lid. It's a really pretty like taupey shimmer. There we go. Now we have the shade Brooch, which is a shimmery green. Very nicely pigmented. And next we have Desert, which is kind of a weird shade. It's like a greeny gray. Again, swatch is not so great, but it is unique. You see that green does show through. And last for this row we have Sublime, which is a black. I use this today to set my eyeliner. I set my eyeliner most days with a black, and that is a nice black. Next, we're going to go to the very last row, which is like the blue-toned row. The first shade we have is Pendant, which is a matte white. I have this as my brow bone shade today. Again, doesn't swatch the best. Next, we're going to go to the shade Getaway, which is pretty much a neutral transition shade. Slightly cool tone, I guess. Let's see if we can... Not the best at swatching. But it is pretty similar to my skin tone. It's, like I said, it's a transition shade for my skin tone. Next, we're going to say Tassel, which is one of the shades that my eyes was immediately drawn to. This really pretty shimmery blue. It doesn't pack near as much of a punch as I would like it to, but it is pretty. And that is what's on like the middle of my lid today. And then we have Antique, which is what's on the outer part of my lid. And it's kind of a matte, not quite a navy, but like a dark blue. And last we have Lavish, which is a gray, and it's what I have in my crease today. It's right there. So, that's a lot of eyeshadow. Overall, they don't swatch the best. I did find that a lot of these kind of had a film. So, I used this palette for like 4 days, and I was ready to review it, and then I had to go to Vancouver because of my boyfriend's dad. So, I used it a lot more while I was there. I didn't wear makeup every day because obviously we had a lot more important things to deal with. And when we were driving back across the country, I didn't wear makeup at all because I'm not going to put on makeup to drive across the country. But that being said, I felt like some of these had like, not a hard pin, but almost like a seal. And once I really got into them, it really got going. I think that these all have kind of a... What are you doing? I think she was just having a dream and she woke up and decided barking was the answer. Hang it well. Stop. Just go back to sleep. They have like a soft pigmentation. I feel like my look today is pretty. I do enjoy it, but I don't feel like it's very like bam. Like if you use like a lot of the Urban Decay shadows or like a Kat Von D shadow and it's really pigmented in your face. You don't get that with this palette. It's much softer. However, and you do have to build it up. I definitely built up all of these shades. I like the cheek products a lot. Really like this highlighter and the blushes. The bronzer's a little warm, but I like them. I like the lip products. Eyeliner's okay. Mascara's okay. Shadows are okay. I think that if you are a beginner, if you know someone who is like just getting into makeup and you want to, like, this is a wow present for sure. You have so much. When I was traveling, like if you bring this and like a couple of base products, you're good to go. And as somebody who likes a lot of color, they do have a really nice array of shades. I don't feel like there's a lot of shades that pretty much do the same thing and overlap. I wish they had a more powerful sparkly white. This Wonder shade just doesn't quite do it for me. It's nice. And if you don't like quite as an impactful inner corner highlight, that might be great for you. But they really have everything you could want. They are just softer in pigmentation. If you like that, if you like a palette that you're going to kind of have to build up, then this is great for you. If you're a beginner and you want something that's not going to like, oh cool, now I just have blue here and I can't get rid of it, this might be good for you. They do blend pretty nicely. Some of them I find, like if you put them down and then you try to blend it, the soft edges, sometimes you can still see where you initially put it. I found that today with this Lavish shade, which is the gray I have in my lid, in my crease, but it did blend okay. It's just overall a nice palette. I think you get a ton of value for $49, especially considering I feel like makeup is just getting more and more and more expensive. There's a lot of value in here, and there's a lot of things you get to try from the brand. I like it. I think it's a good palette. I think there's a lot of cool things in it, but it's not my favorite. I do personally prefer a more pigmented, impactful eye. I think this is nice. I think this is pretty. I think this is a very wearable look. And then this is the purples. I love this, or the blues. I love this purple. I like Tassel. I like Brooch. I like the shimmery shades a lot. The mattes are good. This sweet shade is very disappointing to me on the lid. I can't really make it do anything. I would also like to say I have tried them all wet, and it didn't really make a difference. So it's not like, oh girl, don't worry, just make it wet and it'll be like really impactful. I did not find that to be the case with these shadows. I don't feel like wetting them really did anything. So I like it. I think it's good. If you are all about makeup, you like a lot of pigment, you might be disappointed with this. If you like to build things up, if you don't like something that's kind of, this is kind of a foolproof item. Like, you can mess up a little bit and you can still get it. I also find that fallout isn't bad. I get a little bit of fallout like with the shimmer shades, but not very much at all. So all in all, I think it's a nice item. $49 is a really good deal for it. I'm glad I have it, but I don't know that I'd purchase it again or that I'd really recommend it for most people. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them down below. As well, if there's something else you want to see. Any questions, requests, suggestions, comments, leave them down below. I love speaking with y'all. It's one of my favorite things. So if there's anything you want to know about this palette or anything else, go ahead and let me know. And yeah, I'll just see y'all real soon. Bye.